Captain Emily Grant stood on the bridge of the UNSC destroyer Indomitable, staring at the view screen with cold determination. The stars outside looked peaceful, but she knew that peace was about to shatter. New Terra, humanity's richest colony world, hung below like a blue jewel against the darkness of space. Captain, sensors are picking up multiple jump signatures, Lieutenant Thomas Reeves called out from his station. His voice was steady, but Emily could hear the tension beneath it. They're coming in fast. Emily walked closer to the main display. How many? Thomas worked his console, his fingers flying across the controls. The numbers kept climbing. I'm counting 200, no, 300 capital ships. Plus hundreds of smaller vessels. It's an entire invasion fleet. The bridge crew fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The Kralian Empire had finally made good on its threats. For months, they had demanded that humanity share New Terra's resources. The Galactic Council had sided with them, claiming that one species shouldn't hoard such wealth. Humanity had refused. Now the Kralians were here to take what they wanted by force. Get me Governor Phillips on the surface, Emily ordered. Within seconds, the weathered face of Governor Richard Phillips appeared on her screen. He was in his office in New Terra's capital city, and through the window behind him, Emily could see people going about their daily lives, unaware of what was coming. Captain Grant, Richard said. Please tell me those are reinforcements. I wish I could, Richard. It's the Kralians. They've brought an invasion fleet. The governor's face went pale. How long do we have? Unknown. But Richard, listen to me carefully. We are not evacuating New Terra. This is our world, and we're going to defend it. Start activating the militia. Get everyone to their assigned defensive positions. Move the civilians to the shelters. Emily, do we even have a chance? Before she could answer, another voice cut through every speaker on the bridge. It was a transmission broadcasting on all frequencies, impossible to block. The view screen shifted to show a massive reptilian creature standing on what was clearly a warship's command deck. He stood at least 8 feet tall, with bronze-colored scales that gleamed under harsh lighting. 4 powerful arms were clasped behind his back, and his yellow eyes gleamed with confidence. Humans of New Terra, the alien's voice rumbled, deep and threatening. The universal translator rendered his words into perfect English. I am General Vote of the Kralian Empire. For months, your leaders have defied the will of the Galactic Council. Your stubbornness and greed have forced our hand. Today, your defiance ends. General Vote stepped forward, his claws clicking on the metal floor. Behind him, Emily could see dozens of Kralian officers standing at attention. I have brought with me 1 million soldiers. 1 million warriors of the Kralian Empire. This is the largest invasion force ever assembled in this sector of space. Your entire colony has perhaps 50,000 people, most of them civilians. Your defeat is inevitable. The general's eyes narrowed, and his voice dropped to a menacing growl. You have 12 of your human hours to surrender. Open your shields. Ground all military spacecraft. Order your soldiers to lay down their weapons. Do this, and your people will be allowed to leave peacefully. Resist, and my million soldiers will take your world by force. The choice is yours, but I promise you, resistance will only bring death. The view screen shifted to show the Kralian fleet in orbit. Hundreds of massive troop transports floated among the warships, each one carrying thousands of soldiers. The sheer scale of it was overwhelming. The fleet looked like a swarm of metal insects, so numerous they actually blocked out the stars behind them. Emily felt every eye on the bridge turned to her. Her crew was waiting for her response. Down on the planet, millions of people were waiting. This was the moment that would define everything that came next. She straightened her uniform and stepped forward. Lieutenant Reeves, open a response channel. Broadcast it on the same frequencies they used. Channel open, Captain. Emily looked directly into the camera, making sure General Vote would see her face clearly. She didn't smile. She didn't look afraid. She simply stared at him with the cold confidence of someone who knew exactly what was about to happen. General Vote, this is Captain Emily Grant of the United Nations Space Command Destroyer Indomitable. I've listened to your demands, and I have a response for you. She paused, letting the silence stretch for just a moment. Then she spoke, her voice clear and sharp as a blade. You say you have 1 million soldiers? Good. I have 1 million targets. The bridge was absolutely silent. Even the normal hum of the ship's system seemed to fade away. On the view screen, General Vote's expression shifted from confidence to confusion, then to anger. His scales bristled, and his 4 hands clenched into fists. You dare mock the might of the Kralian Empire? Vogt's voice shook with rage. You have 4 small ships against my fleet. You have a handful of soldiers against my army. Your arrogance will cost you everything, human. When my soldiers land on your world, they will. 12 hours, you said? Emily checked her wrist chronometer, completely ignoring his threats. We'll be ready, General. In fact, we're looking forward to it. My soldiers have been getting bored lately. They could use the target practice. She made a cutting motion across her throat. Lieutenant Reeves immediately closed the channel, and General Vogt's furious face disappeared from the screen. Emily turned to face her crew. Every single person on the bridge was staring at her with expressions ranging from shock to admiration to barely controlled fear. She understood. They were looking at impossible odds, and she had just challenged an entire empire. All hands to battle stations, she ordered, her voice calm and controlled. Contact the Defiant, the Relentless, and the Harbinger. Tell Captains Turner, Harris, and Mitchell that it's time to show the galaxy what humanity learned from 5,000 years of warfare. Tell them we're going hunting. Lieutenant Reeves swallowed hard. Captain, with respect, we have 4 ships and maybe 15,000 troops on the ground. They have 300 ships and 1,000,000 soldiers. The odds. The odds don't matter, Thomas. Emily walked back to her command chair and sat down, her hands gripping the armrests. The Kralians think war is about numbers. They think whoever brings the most soldiers wins. They've fought the same way for centuries, and it's always worked for them. She smiled then, a cold smile that made several crew members shiver. They've never fought humans before. They don't know that we spent our entire history fighting enemies that outnumbered us. They don't know that we learned to turn disadvantages into weapons. They don't know that when humanity is backed into a corner, we don't surrender. We adapt. We improvise. We win. Emily activated the ship-wide communication system. Attention all crew, this is the captain. In a few hours, the Kralian Empire is going to attempt to invade New Terra. They think their numbers guarantee victory. They're wrong. We're going to teach them a lesson they'll never forget. We're going to show them why you never underestimate humanity. Battle stations, everyone. Let's make history. As the crew rushed to their positions, Emily stared at the Kralian fleet on her display. 1,000,000 soldiers. It should have been terrifying. Instead, she felt nothing but cold determination. The Kralians had made a fatal mistake. They had threatened humanity's home, and now they were going to pay the price. Thomas, she said quietly, activate the Hunter protocols. It's time to show them what 4 human warships can really do. Outside the Indomitable, space was about to become very dangerous for the Kralian Empire. Dr. Michael Foster stood in front of the holographic display in the briefing room of the Indomitable. 20 military officers sat around the long table, their faces serious and focused. Captain Emily Grant sat at the head of the table, while Colonel David Harrison, commander of New Terra's ground forces, sat to her right. The hologram floating in the center showed images of alien battlefields from across the galaxy. I need you all to understand something, Michael began, his voice calm but urgent. The Kralians fight the same way almost every species in the galaxy fights. They've been doing it for 300 years, and it's always worked for them. He pressed a button on his control pad. The hologram shifted to show massive formations of Kralian soldiers marching in perfect lines. Thousands of them moved together like one giant machine, their weapons firing in synchronized volleys. Mass conscription, Michael continued. They take millions of their people, give them basic training for a few weeks, hand them weapons, and send them into battle. They win through sheer numbers. They don't need skilled soldiers. They just need bodies. Lots and lots of bodies. Colonel Harrison frowned. That's wasteful. How many soldiers do they lose in a typical battle? Thousands. Sometimes tens of thousands. Michael pulled up another image showing the aftermath of a Kralian victory. The battlefield was littered with bodies. But they don't care. They have billions of citizens. Soldiers are replaceable. This strategy has conquered 12 worlds in the last 50 years. Then how do we fight them? Asked Commander Beth Turner of the Defiant. We don't have billions of people. We don't have millions of soldiers to throw away. Emily stood up and took control of the presentation. We don't fight them the way they expect. We don't line up our soldiers and march at them. We don't try to match their numbers. Instead, we use what makes humanity different. She changed the hologram to show human military operations from Earth's history. Small teams of soldiers moving through forests, striking quickly and vanishing. Precision airstrikes taking out enemy command centers. Special forces units destroying supply lines deep behind enemy territory. Humanity learned something different about warfare, Emily explained. We learned it through thousands of years of fighting each other. We learned that one highly trained soldier with good equipment and good support is worth 100 poorly trained conscripts. We learned that smart beats strong. Fast beats slow. Precision beats mass. She zoomed in on one particular battle from Earth's history. 200 years ago, during the border wars on Earth, a single company of 150 human soldiers held off an army of 10,000 rebels for 3 weeks. They used terrain, technology, psychology, and tactics. They turned every advantage they had into a weapon. That's what we're going to do here. Michael stepped forward again. The Kralians have never faced an enemy like us. Every species they've fought has accepted their paradigm. Everyone plays by the same rules. Big armies crash into each other, and whoever has more soldiers wins. But humans don't play by those rules. So what's the plan? Colonel Harrison asked, leaning forward with interest now. Emily pulled up a tactical map of New Terra. The planet's surface showed cities, forests, mountains, and vast plains. David, your ground forces are not going to defend fixed positions. That's what the Kralians expect. They'll land their MillIon soldiers, march to our cities, and surround them. Then they'll demand surrender or start bombing. She traced several lines across the map. Instead, we're going mobile. Full guerrilla warfare. I want your 15,000 troops divided into 500 hunter-killer teams. 30 soldiers per team. Each team operates independently, each has their own area of operations, and each has full authority to engage targets of opportunity. Colonel Harrison studied the map carefully. Hit-and-run tactics. Strike where they're weak, disappear before they can respond. Exactly. The Kralians will land in concentrated areas. They'll set up bases. They'll establish supply lines. They'll follow their standard doctrine because that's all they know. Every single one of those actions creates vulnerabilities we can exploit. Commander Turner spoke up. What about the naval battle? 4 ships against 300 is suicide, even with better training. Emily smiled. We're not having a naval battle. We're having a hunt. Beth, your ship and the others are going to operate independently. Stealth systems active at all times. You're not going to engage their fleet directly. You're going to pick off stragglers. Hit their supply ships. Destroy their communication relays. Target their command vessels. She highlighted several positions in the Kralian formation. Look at their fleet. It's in a perfect defensive sphere. Textbook formation. Completely predictable. They haven't adapted in 3 centuries because they've never needed to. Every enemy they've faced has tried to punch through that formation with brute force. And we're not going to do that, Beth said, understanding dawning on her face. We're going to dance around them. They'll spin their ships trying to track us. They'll waste ammunition shooting at ghosts. And every time they turn their attention one direction, we'll hit them from another. It's called asymmetric warfare, and humanity invented it thousands of years ago. Michael brought up another hologram, this one showing psychological profiles. There's another factor. Kralian soldiers are conscripts. They're not professional warriors. Most of them have never seen real combat. They've been told they're invincible because of their numbers. When we start killing them in ways they don't understand, when their officers start dying from invisible enemies, when their supply lines collapse and they start going hungry, they're going to break. Morale, Colonel Harrison said. We're not just fighting their soldiers. We're fighting their will to continue. Exactly. Every human soldier is worth dozens of theirs, not because we're physically superior, but because we're better trained, better equipped, and we understand modern warfare. We have neural link communication systems that let our teams coordinate in real time. We have autonomous drones for reconnaissance and support. We have AI-assisted targeting systems that let one sniper cover an entire valley. We have adaptive camouflage that makes us nearly invisible. Emily pulled up specifications for human equipment. Every soldier has armor that can stop their standard weapons. Every rifle has smart ammunition that can adjust trajectory mid-flight. Every team has access to artillery support, drone strikes, and orbital reconnaissance. We see everything. We move faster. We shoot straighter. And we think better. She looked around the table at each officer. The Kralians are about to learn a very expensive lesson. They think war is about who has the most soldiers. They're wrong. Modern warfare is about force multiplication. It's about making every soldier, every weapon, every decision count for more. It's about fighting smart instead of fighting hard. Colonel Harrison stood up, studying the tactical map more closely. How long do we need to hold out? Reinforcements are coming from Earth and the outer colonies, Emily replied. But they're 2 weeks away. We need to hurt the Kralians badly enough in that time that they either retreat or lose their ability to prosecute the invasion effectively. 2 weeks. David rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Captain, I served in the border wars. I've seen what human soldiers can do when they're properly motivated and properly equipped. But even I'm nervous about these odds. Emily placed her hand on his shoulder. David, humanity didn't crawl out of caves and conquer the stars by playing it safe. We survived ice ages. We survived plagues that killed half our population. We survived world wars where we nearly destroyed ourselves. We survived first contact with hostile aliens. The Kralians have numbers. That's all they have. We have 5,000 years of accumulated military knowledge. We have technology they don't understand. We have tactics they've never encountered. And most importantly, we have something to fight for. This is our home. The briefing continued for another hour, officers asking detailed questions about logistics, communication protocols, and rules of engagement. When it finally ended, the officers filed out, each one heading to their assigned position. Michael approached Emily as the room emptied. Do you really think we can win this? Emily watched the holographic display, which now showed the Kralian fleet in orbit. 300 ships. 1,000,000 soldiers. It should have been impossible. But she thought about human history. Every impossible victory. Every time humanity had been outnumbered and outgunned and had won anyway through sheer determination and clever thinking. Michael, the Kralians made one fatal mistake. They assumed we'd fight like everyone else. They're about to discover why you should never make assumptions about humanity. She turned off the display and headed for the bridge. In a few hours, the invasion would begin. And humanity would show the galaxy what real warfare looked like. The Kralian dropships screamed through New Terra's atmosphere like falling meteors. General Vogt watched from his flagship as 200,000 soldiers descended toward the planet's surface in the first wave. He had chosen 3 primary landing zones near New Terra's largest cities. It was standard doctrine, proven effective across dozens of campaigns. Landing Zone Alpha reports successful touchdown, his communications officer announced. No resistance encountered. Landing Zone Beta and Gamma also secure. Vogt nodded with satisfaction. The humans had not even attempted to contest the landing. Perhaps they had finally realized the futility of resistance. Within minutes, his troops would establish forward bases, and the invasion would proceed according to plan. On the ground, Sergeant William Price watched through his scope as Kralian soldiers poured out of their landing craft. He was positioned 3 kilometers away on a hillside, completely invisible beneath his adaptive camouflage. His Neuralink fed him data from 20 other observation posts scattered around Landing Zone Alpha. All teams, this is Reaper 1, William whispered into his comm. Targets are deploying in standard formation. They're not even posting perimeter guards. Wait for my signal. He counted at least 5,000 Kralian soldiers in his field of view, all bunched together as they unloaded equipment and began assembling prefabricated structures. It was exactly what Colonel Harrison had predicted. The Kralians fought by the book, and that book was 300 years old. Reaper 1, this is Hawk 7, another voice came through his neural link. I have eyes on that command center. Officers are gathering in the open. Permission to engage. Williams smiled coldly. All units, weapons free. Show them what human soldiers can do. The hillside erupted with precision fire. Williams' rifle coughed once, twice, 3 times. 3 kilometers away, 3 Kralian officers collapsed, their heads simply disappearing in puffs of blue blood. All around Landing Zone Alpha, similar scenes played out as 30 human sniper teams opened fire simultaneously. The Kralians panicked immediately. Soldiers dove for cover, but they didn't know where the shots were coming from. Officers shouted orders, but more officers kept dying. Within 2 minutes, every single Kralian leader in Landing Zone Alpha was dead. Reaper 1, pulling back, William reported. He and his spotter were already moving, their adaptive camouflage shifting colors to match the terrain. By the time Kralian soldiers reached their position, they would find nothing but spent shell casings. General Vogt stared at his tactical display in confusion. What do you mean we've lost contact with the ground commanders? All of them? Sir, our forces report they are under fire, but they cannot locate the enemy. Casualties are mounting rapidly. From how many attackers? Unknown, sir. Our soldiers report gunfire from multiple directions, but they see no targets. Vogt slammed his fist on the command console. Send in the second wave. Another 50,000 troops to each landing zone. Find these humans and crush them. Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell crouched behind a fallen tree, her squad spread out in perfect formation around her. They were 5 kilometers from landing zone Beta, watching a Kralian supply convoy rumble down the road. 20 massive vehicles carrying ammunition, food, and medical supplies for the landing force. Dragon 4, this is Dragon Leader, Sarah spoke into her comm. Convoy is entering the kill zone. Drones, execute. High above, invisible to Kralian sensors, 6 autonomous attack drones received their orders. They dove silently, releasing small guided missiles. The explosions came one after another, destroying every vehicle in the convoy. Kralian soldiers stumbled out of the burning wreckage, disoriented and wounded. Now, Sarah ordered. Her squad opened fire with devastating accuracy. AI-assisted targeting systems identified threats and painted them in her vision. She aimed and fired, aimed and fired. Each shot found its mark. The entire ambush lasted less than 30 seconds. Dragon 4, withdrawing. Estimated enemy casualties, 200. Our casualties, 0. This pattern repeated across New Terra. Small human teams struck like ghosts. They destroyed supply lines. They eliminated officers. They laid traps using smart minds that could identify friend from foe. They used the terrain to their advantage, fighting from forests, mountains, and urban areas where their superior training made all the difference. Colonel David Harrison monitored the battle from his command center deep underground. Holographic displays showed him the position of every human team and every Kralian formation. The Neuralink network gave him real-time updates from 500 independent units. Sir, Landing Zone Delta reports Kralian forces attempting to establish a forward base, Captain Robert Hayes reported. They have approximately 10,000 soldiers in defensive positions. Send in the hammer, David ordered calmly. 10 kilometers away, Lieutenant James Cooper received his orders. Hammer team, you're cleared for artillery strike. Target package Delta 7. James checked his coordinates twice, then entered them into his artillery computer. Fire mission, 6 rounds, high explosive. Firing. The mobile artillery unit bucked as it launched guided shells into the sky. The shells arced upward, then adjusted their trajectory using internal guidance systems. They came down exactly on target, obliterating the Kralian forward base in a series of massive explosions. Target destroyed, James reported. Hammer team relocating. By the time Kralian forces tried to locate and counterattack the artillery position, James and his team were already 15 kilometers away, setting up for the next fire mission. General Vogt could not believe what he was seeing. His invasion force had swelled to 300,000 soldiers on the ground, yet they were being systematically destroyed. Casualty reports flooded in constantly. Supply convoys disappeared. Communication posts went dark. Officers died mysteriously from impossible distances. How many humans are we fighting? He demanded. Our intelligence estimates no more than 15,000, General. Impossible. 15,000 cannot defeat 300,000. Send more troops. Send everyone. His officers exchanged worried glances but obeyed. The drop ships began ferrying more soldiers to the surface. 200,000 more. Then 300,000. Within 12 hours, Vogt had committed 800,000 of his MillIon soldiers to New Terra's surface. And they were all dying. Sergeant William Price led his team through a Kralian encampment at night. The aliens had posted guards, but human thermal imaging and motion sensors made them easy to avoid. William moved silently between tents, placing small explosive charges on ammunition dumps and vehicle fuel tanks. Charges set, he whispered. 30 seconds. His team melted back into the darkness. Behind them, the charges detonated in a chain reaction that lit up the night sky. Thousands of Kralian soldiers ran in panic as their entire supply depot burned. Reaper 1, excellent work. Colonel Harrison's voice came through the neural link. RTB for rest and resupply. You've been operational for 16 hours. Copy that, sir. Reaper 1 heading home. As William and his team disappeared into the forest, he thought about the Kralian general's boast. General Vogt stared at the casualty reports with growing fury. 7 days of combat, and he had lost nearly 100,000 soldiers. His supply situation was critical. His troops were exhausted and frightened. And he still could not locate the main human force because there was no main force. The humans fought like shadows, appearing and disappearing at will. This is unacceptable, Vogt growled, his forearms clenching. We have 800,000 soldiers on the ground. They have perhaps 10,000 still fighting. Yet we cannot win. His second-in-command, Commander Drax, shifted nervously. General, perhaps we should reconsider our strategy. The humans are not fighting the way we expected. Our standard tactics are ineffective against. I did not ask for your opinion. Vogt roared. I asked for victory. If ground forces cannot achieve it, then we will use orbital bombardment. Prepare the fleet weapons. We will destroy their military positions from space. Drax's scales paled. General, orbital bombardment of inhabited worlds is forbidden by the Galactic Council. It violates the rules of warfare. If we do this, the Council will. The Council is not here. I am. And I will not allow these primitive humans to embarrass the Kralian Empire. Target their suspected command centers. Target their cities if necessary. I want those bombardment vessels in position within the hour. High above New Terra, Captain Emily Grant received the alert from her sensors officer. Captain, Kralian fleet is repositioning. 6 heavy cruisers are moving into bombardment formation over New Terra's capital city. Emily's face went cold. They're going to bomb civilians. Open a channel to all Kralian frequencies. Channel open, Captain. General Vogt, this is Captain Grant. If you fire on civilian populations, you will be in direct violation of galactic law. Stand down immediately. Vogt's face appeared on her screen, twisted with rage. You have no authority here, human. You have fought dishonorably, hiding like cowards instead of meeting us in open battle. Now you will pay the price for your arrogance. The transmission cut off. On Emily's tactical display, she watched the 6 Kralian cruisers charging their weapons. She had perhaps 2 minutes before they fired on the city below, where 3 million people lived and worked. All ships, this is Grant. We're taking those cruisers out. Maximum speed, weapons free. If we don't stop them now, millions die. The Indomitable and her 3 sister ships dropped their stealth systems and accelerated toward the Kralian bombardment vessels at full power. It was incredibly dangerous. They were outnumbered 75 to 1. But Emily would not allow civilian slaughter on her watch. Railguns locked. Firing. The 4 human destroyers unleashed everything they had. Tungsten rounds tore through space at incredible velocity. The first Kralian cruiser's shields collapsed under the barrage. The ship broke apart in a series of explosions. The second cruiser tried to turn and return fire but was hit before it could respond. 3 more followed in rapid succession. The last bombardment vessel managed to fire once before it died. A single plasma beam lanced down toward New Terra's surface, striking a warehouse district on the edge of the capital. The building exploded, killing 4 to 7 people instantly. Target destroyed, Lieutenant Thomas Reeves reported. All bombardment vessels eliminated. Emily's hands gripped her command chair. 4 to 7 dead. It could have been millions, but it was still 4 to 7 too many. Record everything. Every transmission. Every sensor reading. Document the Kralian war crime. Broadcast it on all channels, including Galactic Council frequencies. Within minutes, the footage was spreading across the galaxy. General Vogt ordering the bombardment. The Kralian ships targeting civilian populations. The destruction of the warehouse. Human diplomats on the Council homeworld began making formal protests immediately. On New Terra's surface, the news of the bombardment attempt spread quickly. Colonel David Harrison used it to devastating effect. He had his psychological operations teams broadcast messages to Kralian soldiers in their own language. Kralian soldiers, your general has violated the rules of warfare. He attempted to murder millions of civilians. The Galactic Council is already moving to censure your empire. You are following a war criminal. Lay down your weapons. You will be treated fairly under the terms of the Galactic Convention. The message played on loop across all frequencies. Kralian soldiers heard it in their helmets, on their communication devices, even on captured equipment. Many of them had not known about the bombardment order. When they learned what Vogt had tried to do, doubt crept into their minds. Emily took advantage of the confusion. She had been waiting for human reinforcements, but the bombardment attempt changed everything. She contacted Earth Command directly. This is Captain Grant. I need immediate authorization for Operation Spearhead. The Kralians have committed war crimes. We need to end this now. The response came back within an hour. Authorization granted. 20 elite warships carrying 5,000 orbital drop troops were being dispatched. They would arrive in 2 days instead of 2 weeks, thanks to emergency protocols that pushed their engines beyond normal safety limits. General Vogt realized his mistake too late. The footage of his bombardment order spread like wildfire through the Galactic Council. Within hours, 2 of his allied species withdrew their support for the invasion. Trade sanctions were being discussed. His own government sent urgent messages demanding explanations. Worse, his own troops were losing their will to fight. Surrenders began slowly at first. A squad here, a platoon there. Then entire companies began laying down weapons when they encountered human forces. They had been told this would be an easy conquest. Instead, they were being hunted by an enemy they could not see, led by a general who had violated sacred laws, fighting for a cause that now seemed unjust. On the 8th day, human reinforcements arrived. 20 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. These were not destroyers like the Indomitable. These were heavy cruisers and battleships, fresh and fully armed. Admiral Emily Grant, she had been promoted that morning by Earth Command, watched the reinforcements take position. All ships, commence Operation Spearhead. Priority targets, Kralian command vessels and troop transports. We're cutting off their head and their supply lines simultaneously. The human fleet moved with perfect coordination. 24 ships against 300 sounded like suicide, but the Kralian fleet was scattered, demoralized, and led by a general who had just lost all credibility. The human ships struck like surgical knives, targeting key vessels with devastating accuracy. Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell and her squad watched from the ground as Kralian dropships began launching back into orbit. The aliens were retreating. All around Landing Zone Beta, Kralian soldiers were surrendering by the thousands. Dragon 4, are you seeing this? Sarah asked over the comm. Confirmed, Dragon Leader. Enemy forces in full retreat. They are abandoning equipment and supplies. Colonel Harrison's voice came through the Neuralink network. The Galactic Council chamber was enormous, a circular room with seating for representatives from 47 different species. Light filtered through massive windows that showed the stars beyond. In the center stood a raised platform where those giving testimony could address the entire assembly. Admiral Emily Grant walked to that platform wearing her formal uniform, every medal earned through years of service displayed on her chest. Behind her sat the human delegation, including Governor Richard Phillips and Colonel David Harrison. The gallery was packed with observers from across the galaxy, all wanting to witness this historic moment. The council speaker, an ancient creature called a Methodian with silver skin and wise eyes, raised one long hand for silence. This emergency session is called to order. We are here to discuss the recent conflict at New Terra and its implications. Admiral Emily Grant of Humanity, you have been summoned to explain your actions. Emily stood straight and confident. Thank you, Speaker. I am here to present the facts of what occurred when the Kralian Empire attempted to invade New Terra. For the next hour, she laid out everything. She showed sensor logs, battle footage, and casualty reports. She demonstrated how General Vogt had brought 1 million soldiers to conquer a colony world. She showed his threats, his arrogance, and finally his attempt to bombard civilian populations. Then she showed the human response. The tactical decisions, the precision strikes, the minimal civilian casualties despite overwhelming odds. The footage of human soldiers showing mercy to surrendering Kralians, treating prisoners according to galactic law even after Vogt had violated it. When she finished, the chamber was silent. Finally, the Kralian representative stood. He was not General Vogt, the disgraced general was awaiting trial in a Kralian prison. This was Ambassador Kelth, an older Kralian with grey scales and a humble bearing. The Kralian Empire acknowledges our mistakes, Kelth said quietly. We came to New Terra expecting an easy conquest. We believed our numbers would guarantee victory. We were wrong. We underestimated humanity. General Vogt violated sacred laws in his desperation, and for that, we offer our deepest apologies. He turned to face Emily directly. Your forces defeated ours not through cruelty or overwhelming power, but through superior training, strategy, and adherence to honor even in desperate circumstances. The Kralian Empire has learned a painful but necessary lesson. The speaker nodded slowly. The council recognizes the Kralian apology. However, the matter of reparations must still be addressed. The Kralian Empire will pay for reconstruction on New Terra. Furthermore, this council formally recognizes New Terra as sovereign human territory, not to be disputed. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Several species that had previously supported the Kralian position now voted with humanity. The political landscape had shifted dramatically. But then a Drevni representative stood, his insect-like features clicking with agitation. This council must also address a concerning development. Humanity defeated a million-soldier invasion force with only 15,000 troops. This represents a military capability far beyond what we believed existed. Some species find this troubling. Emily had expected this. Speaker, may I respond? You may, Admiral. Members of the Council, humanity does not seek to dominate the galaxy. We do not want to conquer your worlds or threaten your peoples. What happened at New Terra was purely defensive. We were protecting our home from an unprovoked invasion. She activated a holographic display showing human military doctrine. However, I will be honest with you. What you witnessed at New Terra is not an exception. It is the standard for human military forces. We train our soldiers to the highest levels. We develop technology for maximum efficiency. We study warfare not because we love fighting, but because we have learned through bitter experience that being unprepared leads to catastrophe. The Drevni representative clicked nervously. You are saying every human military force is this capable? Yes. And I want you to understand why. Emily changed the hologram to show Earth's history. Wars, conflicts, struggles across thousands of years. Humanity spent most of its existence fighting itself. We nearly destroyed our own world multiple times. We learned every possible way to wage war because we had no choice. By the time we reached the stars, we had accumulated 5,000 years of military knowledge. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from dozens of species. When we joined the galactic community, we discovered that most species here had never experienced total war. Most of you had minor conflicts, border disputes, but nothing like what humanity endured. Your military doctrines are hundreds of years old because they work well enough against enemies using similar tactics. And your doctrine? The speaker asked. Our doctrine is constantly evolving. We study every conflict, learn from every mistake, and adapt continuously. That is why we prevailed at New Terra. Not because we are inherently superior, but because we have paid for our knowledge in blood over millennia. A Kolati representative spoke up, her voice thoughtful. Admiral, some species here fear that humanity will use this military superiority to expand aggressively. Emily shook her head firmly. Humanity has no interest in conquest. We want trade, cooperation, and peaceful coexistence. But we will defend ourselves and our allies. Any species that threatens human worlds should understand what they face. We do not want war, but we are very, very good at it when forced to fight. She paused, letting her words sink in. The Kralian Empire thought numbers guaranteed victory. They learned otherwise. I hope other species will learn from their example without requiring the same painful lesson. The council speaker was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice carrying weight. This council proposes a new resolution. Humanity will be offered full membership in the Galactic Council with all rights and privileges. Furthermore, we propose that humanity establish a military training academy to share their knowledge with species who wish to improve their own defensive capabilities. Emily blinked in surprise. This was far more than she had expected. Speaker, humanity would be honored to accept council membership. As for the academy, we would need to discuss specifics, but in principle, we are willing to help train defensive forces for allied species. Over the next 3 days, the council hammered out details. New Terra was officially recognized as human territory. The Kralian Empire agreed to pay substantial reparations. Several species approached humanity requesting defense pacts and military cooperation agreements. On the 4th day, Emily returned to New Terra. She stood at the construction site of a memorial being built for the fallen. 4 to 7 civilians killed in the bombardment. 2,812 human soldiers who had died defending their home. The names of every casualty would be carved in stone. Dr. Michael Foster joined her at the memorial site. Do you think the galaxy has learned its lesson? Emily watched workers carefully placing the foundation stones. Some have. Others haven't.